And welcome, World Sports Show. Charlie Flo here, John Acrisio, and our in-studio guest host tonight, Ryan Finley, all the way in from New Jersey. I'd say it's far because you had to cross a bridge, cross a river, and make it in this cold weather. Definitely a good night to be in listening to radio and talking about soccer for you fans out there. How you doing tonight, John?
Doing pretty good. Just trying to get everything queued up, set up, ready to go.
Ryan's in his off season playing his ball in Sweden professional. I'm not going to even try to pronounce the team you play for, so I'm going to let you take a stab for it. Which team are you playing now in Sweden?
First, thanks to you guys for having me on tonight, but I might butcher the pronunciation as well, but I think it's pronounced Vanamo.
Yeah, I think that John was pulling it up on some text-to-talk in the preparation here in the studio, and it was interesting, getting the different online applications that pronounce things. I'm sure that may has become an issue for you playing over in Sweden. When you see something up there, it's not the same alphabet as us, and it's not exactly pronounced because you have the umlauts and all the other different characters within the letters, and you have the A and E slammed together, which I don't even want to begin. I already have tough enough time with the English language.
I'll give you the official one right here. Let me see if I can cue it up. It's going to take me a minute here.
Okay.
But yeah, I think you did get it right. Vanamo?
Vanamo. Yeah.
Vanamo.
Yeah, the A with the accent's a little tough to.
Yeah, I'm just queuing it up. It'll take me a minute.
So, no, it's definitely interesting when you think of these Scandinavian countries that you guys kind of similarly follow, almost like very close to an MLS type of schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a little background. I went to Sweden in about February for a trial.
Yeah.
Came back home for a couple weeks, and then went back about the beginning of March and stayed there till about the middle of July. And the team in Sweden had a little bit of financial trouble. So I was able to get out and go to a team in Denmark, Denmark's more on the European schedule.
Yeah.
So they just ended the first half of their season December 1st, and then they'll come back and play.
You think a little winter break type
thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll play the second half of the season beginning in March, whereas the new team in Sweden I'm going to will be starting fresh, new season starting in March as well. So
yeah, it's always a hard thing as any type of player coming in mid-season as a new player.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to find your way into whatever chemistry, whatever system they're playing. You don't have any of that preseason at all. And,
for sure.
And, I mean, it's very unheard of. It's almost, we don't have that in any type of system in the U.S. where you just jump in mid-season. And you just don't hear that. And it would just, to me, almost like being injured half the season and then coming in. And, I mean, what was that experience like just going into a whole new style of play in a whole new country? I mean, big adjustment.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, obviously, going to Sweden in the beginning, I didn't really have a preseason. So, and the other issue you deal with is the work permit issue. So in Sweden, I missed the first game, and luckily that was it. And then in Denmark, I think I missed 3 or 4 games. It took 3-4 weeks to get the work permit to get done. So, and obviously, the team's 6-7 games into the season, and coming in the middle, like you said, obviously isn't easy. So.
Yeah, I've had that issue when I worked for Sky Blue a couple of years ago. We had some issues with a couple of our Australian players.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't make it over to the different embassies, because of different, holidays and all that. It was like July 4th weekend. They were coming off a Women's World Cup, and it's a very strenuous pain in the butt process that it's not that I'm saying one job's better or easier than another job, but basically a paper pushing job, somebody can kind of step in and fill in. But as a professional athlete, there's only one of you. It's one of those things where we want you on the team because of your skill set. And when you sit back and not play, it's not like an ongoing 12-month job. You have a small window. So none of us have had to have that situation like, hey, paperwork, you can't play. Hey, I mean, I didn't make any bad grades in schooling, so I could always eligible to play. But that would just be the weirdest thing. Like, you go to the nurse to get your clearance or say, well, she'll be back in 2 weeks. She's on vacation. Well, now I can't play because of paperwork. I mean, you can practice and train with the team, but that must be just grueling sitting in the stands watching.
No, for sure. I mean, you think when I've played in the U.S. here, you fly to whatever city you're in. It's pretty simple to find an apartment. You go on Google apartment in Philadelphia, and you'll be able to find one. But over there it's a lot more complicated than just getting on a 8-9 hour flight and getting there. You have to, your apartment, all the paperwork, the taxes. So it's a lot more goes into it than you think. And obviously I've been pretty lucky with people at the 2 clubs I've been with helping me behind the scenes and stuff like that. So
yeah, there's a book that I'm currently reading. It's called Soccernomics, and they have a whole section, a whole chapter dedicated to basically transfers and failed transfers of why, foreign players come into, a system, and that would be you. You're an American player coming into a Scandinavian system. You've played for a couple of different Scandinavian teams now that they were saying about how these big clubs in Europe will spend millions on transfer, but then they don't help them find an apartment, show them where to eat, and even just cultural things that they may not understand. Because, there's some things that you just don't say and do in another culture, and you have to be sensitive to that. And then you see these players like, oh, he played in Spanish League, scored 20 goals. This guy can't even find the back of the net. And we've seen plenty of players that go transfers like the Chelseas or Manchester United, for example, and they just cannot hit the back of the net. And it makes you wonder. I'm sure there's a little bit of that culture shock when you moved over there too. Yeah,
no, for sure. Like I said earlier, I think a lot of things go into when you go over there. You think, I'm getting on a flight, I'm going to Sweden, and you be on your merry way. But, there's a lot, the weather's different. It's cold, it's rainy. You're trying to find an apartment. Transportation's a little bit different. So you're just really kind of taking the first month or two to kind of get yourself together and get yourself situated. So,
again, just a reminder, you're listening to WPPM LP Philadelphia. This is Charlie Flo, John DeCriscio. We have Ryan Finley in, professional soccer player. We're going to break more down in your career. We're going to break down some of the quick news and recaps of what's going on in the soccer world. A little recap. Big thing came out today. They introduced the venues that they're going to be using for the upcoming Summer Gold Cup. And good news, everybody here, Philadelphia is one of the teams, or one of the host cities.
Good news.
Yeah, good news for us.
Lincoln Financial Field.
Yeah, it's also really cool quick notes that I've got here. There's going to be what we call 4 first-timers, venues that have never hosted a major soccer tournament or hosted, well, I should say, a major Gold Cup, because some of these places have hosted soccer events, but nothing major like a Gold Cup. You got the Alamo Dome. It's going to be used for soccer.
Are they going to put the grass down in there?
They're playing the hardwood, right? It's like... Well, the Spurs won't be playing, so
that's right.
So that'll be interesting when we see that the Aladome has hosted, several NCAA tournaments. They've hosted, I'm pretty sure they've hosted bowl games. I'm 90% sure they've had, some type of the Alamo Bowl. I'm 90% sure that's an actual bowl game. So it's always interesting to see these stadiums that have never done a major soccer tournament have it there. Cleveland's going to be hosting a game, or be a host venue, I should say, Santa Clara, where the 49ers play. In Nashville, Tennessee, and those are the 4 newcomers. And then your 10 returners are going to be Houston, where Dynamo and the Dash play. Good old Philadelphia Lynx has been numerous hosts for several different major soccer tournaments. Tampa's going to be hosting, same place where the Bucks play. Rose Bowl, classic, venues hosted so many, numerous type of events. Denver, Frisco, Texas, Glendale, San Diego, Red Bull Arena, and Cowboys Stadium down in Arlington, Texas. And I think the only news that's come out about who's going to play what stadium is, they said Mexico is going to be in Group C because it's in San Diego. So I find it interesting. They've already, you got to think about it. It is a tournament CONCACAF wants to make money off of, but I still think it's interesting. They've already told Mexico, you're in Group C in San Diego.
That is interesting. Yeah. Should the U.S. get an automatic, you're going to play here?
Well, the thing is, that thing popped in my mind, gentlemen, that which city do you put it in? Because they're all technically in American cities.
Technically?
That's true.
I know San Diego's right on the border, it's a stone's throw from Tijuana, but it is interesting that I don't want to be that guy that makes that decision. Because whenever you have that group play, you're automatically going to get a good draw if you're U.S. And you do have to take these things into consideration. So that's something I really thought about earlier today. I wanted to touch on base with you guys that, that I like that idea that the Gold Cup's going to try. If you have, like, say, Jamaica qualifies, you say, hey, you try to get them in Florida. It's just, let's be realistic. You really want these games to sell out. And I think getting the home fans or the teams, fans, making it easier for them. That's real. You don't throw Jamaica and Cleveland I mean, I'm sure there's a Jamaican population in Cleveland, but you have to think about it regionally.
Got to think about it regionally. Tickets.
Yeah,
It's
be realistic.
approach.
Yeah,
Yep.
And that's the thing that I really learned. Like the they've had of Honduras has had some games in RFK, and they've had them at Soldier Field because there's a large Honduran population in both of the cities, and those are the two of the largest Honduras culturals in DC and Chicago. So it makes sense that you do your research and hopefully do it right. So it'd be interesting to see what games or how many games each venue get, but we'll all be there. So unfortunately, Ryan will be playing in Sweden. So
yeah, I would love to catch a game in Philly, but
have you been able to make any of those games? They've had the links. I've had several major soccer games.
Yeah, no, when I was down in Charlotte, actually, I caught PSG Chelsea, which was pretty cool.
What, in Charlotte down there at their
yeah,
stadium? Wow.
Yeah, but I haven't caught any at Philly yet. That's definitely, obviously being a Philly boy, obviously want to, catch a game there. So,
but obviously on the other end, you are a soccer player, so you're the one on the field right now. I guess things will change when you get into your 30s and 40s when you'll become more of a fan again, and that's the thing that it's got to be neat as a player that you do play professional, but there's still pro teams that you follow. I mean, there's a lot of professional athletes that say, hey, like a buddy of ours that played for the Eagles said, well, deep down, I'm still a Redskins fan because I grew up, cheering for them. I mean, what were some of the teams you grew up cheering for?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've been pretty lucky the last 5 or 10 years with Barcelona, so that's kind of been, always checking the highlights of games and stuff. Obviously, I had to log on and see the Suarez goal from this weekend where Iniesta and Messi pretty much dribbled 5 or 6 guys. So, I mean, I think really the Bundesliga has kind of picked up the last 4 or 5 years. So definitely watching teams like Dortmund and Munich. But personally, I kind of really just watch teams where there's a good forward playing. So even if like Tottenham's playing, and Harry Kane's playing, I'll be like, all right, I gotta catch this game, just to kind of watch players like that, and then. Obviously, you're always entertained when Barcelona's playing. So, try and catch, just any games I can. So
that's the thing about I think that soccer players and coaches and us fans of soccer are, I think, a unique bunch of fans that, I know this happens a lot in pro soccer, that you guys are also a fan, even though you're a professional player. There's some guys that play the game and they hang out their boots and go do their thing, where I find a lot of the union guys I know that they'll get together and watch these games together as a group. You don't stop doing that. You play, and then you go watch together. Yeah,
for sure. I think we were talking about a little bit before the show. I know when I was in Sweden, me and a couple of the buddies, we went up to Helsingborg and watched Malmo Helsingborg. So that was obviously a really cool experience. So anytime we could get up there and watch a huge game like that, it was just the atmosphere, and then just watching some other players in Sweden as well. So it was really a cool experience.
Yeah, just to feed off that energy. And like I said, we were talking about I went to Dortmund and was in the fan section that it's just electrifying. And when you realize that you have that type of energy and that crowd, it does. I've never been lucky to play more than a few thousand. I've played in large stadiums, but they were empty. That's the thing is, a lot of us American soccer players, we can say we've played in a large stadium, just nobody was at it. So it's almost weird that you almost want that intimate feel. And even I love that, and I've done the trips of the smaller stadiums and stuff, and just like I went to a Leverkusen game. It's a small, intimate stadium. It might only hold 20, 30,000, but even those stadiums, I mean, what's the largest stadium you've played in?
So the largest stadium was probably Seattle, but the biggest crowd was probably Portland.
What, you played college? You play against Portland?
No, in the Portland Timbers.
Oh, Timber. Oh, you didn't play in Timbers.
In the MLS.
I know Portland's college team draws very well for
okay.
Their games end up on Fox Soccer sometimes. But yeah, Portland. I mean, that's just
the Timbers. That supporter section is crazy. So
and that's even too. You got to realize you're going as opposition. They can work against you. It can be intimidating. You feel it as you're going into the stadium.
For sure. I mean, especially if a team like that gets momentum and you start feeling the stadium kind of the noise level rise a little bit. It can definitely impact the game a little bit. So,
what's the fan base been like so far in Sweden? I know.
Yeah,
it's played for a smaller club. You were saying.
Yeah, so we usually got a couple thousand, maybe 2,000 max. But the thing that's different about overseas is everyone in the town knows the results of the game. So I would go to the butcher, daily or weekly to pick up, something for dinner or lunch, and the butcher would just be like, "Why'd you guys lose this week?" Where, here in the US it's you're not really not harassed, but you're not really questioned
I think
as much.
Majority of U.S. soccer players can fly under the radar.
For sure.
I mean,
For sure.
it just blows my mind. A couple of guys that are from John and I were friends with in Union. We'd go and have a beverage with, and you'd sit at the bar and nobody even.
Yeah.
I mean, how many professional athletes in the like your NFL could just Donovan Knapp can't just walk up and sit down at the bar and nobody
For sure.
who's that guy? I don't know.
Yeah. I think being an English speaker in a Scandinavian country, their initial reaction is to ask, why are you here? So.
Do you give them the obvious? But
yeah, I think it usually comes out, a couple weeks after once they come to the game and they see me there. But
yeah, is it more like they're testing you? Like, because it's very, that any type of American coach or player that goes to England, they've automatically got that target on them because you're coming to play a sport that's our sport.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much as they're testing you.
Yeah,
I think they're just like. It's just like Eagles fans. Like, they're really concerned about, like, that's their team,
Yeah.
It's like they're concerned about the team, and they want the team to do well, know? And when the team doesn't do well, obviously they're like any Eagles fan who's pissed off on Monday,
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, it can play for and against you. I mean, it is kind of probably a neat feeling because, I mean, did you ever have those type of moments in Columbus or L.A., anybody recognizing you as a soccer player?
So obviously LA was a little bit different with the Galaxy there. Obviously they were kind of the stars of LA in the soccer world. Columbus, I think a couple guys would be recognized just because they have the crew.
Small market.
Yeah,
too,
they have the crew and the Blue Jackets. So, and Columbus is obviously a pretty big soccer city. So, I think they kind of took a little more interest in the team than most cities around in the MLS. So.
Yeah, I remember watching a couple different. I think it was HBO or some type of special on one of the networks about a couple of Flyers guys like Mike Richards that used to be the captain of the Flyers. That was A-list celebrity in Philadelphia. This is a guy that can't go anywhere. He goes to be on the talk radio, just kind of like we're on talk radio, and they didn't know who he was at the gate for the radio station. They're like, "Who are you?" And he had to go through so many hoops to try to get into the radio station. And they're like, "I'm Mike Richards. I play for the L.A. Kings." They're like, "Who? What?"
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, you go to L.A. I mean, you're like a C-level celebrity. Even talking about maybe a few of the L.A. Galaxy guys like Donovan or Robbie Keane maybe recognized, but they could probably go most places in L.A. and people wouldn't even know where they are. Unless you're like on the Los Angeles Lakers or something like that. Even I'm sure L.A. Clipper guys get that problem. It's
definitely.
Like, what are the other basketball team, So.
I think there was a picture out a couple years ago when Beckham was still around.
Yeah.
And I think Beckham, Keane, and a couple of the other guys were at a Lakers game.
Yeah.
And like the quote under the picture said pretty much like Beckham with like friends. Like they didn't even recognize Robbie Keane.
Beckham and buddies.
Yeah. And it's like you realize that's Robbie Keane, like arguably the best player in MLS at the time. So it was.
Well, that was a neat thing when you play for Chivas USA. You guys shared a stadium with LA. Mike LaHoot said he used to say stuff like that. It's like, well, that you play there, but people forget. Oh, there's another team that plays here.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, I'm interested to see how the new LAFC team does.
Yeah.
Obviously they have some pretty high powered backers in the investment team. So I think if you're a European star and you want to come to MLS, where do you want to go? New York or LA?
Yeah,
so,
that's the thing is as much as we love Philadelphia here, it's just those are the target markets that you're going to get exposure and you get to live in one of these amazing, world-class type of cities, but especially if you're kind of a star that played like in your London league or German that couldn't go any kind of like you when you play, so you can't go anywhere without anybody recognizing you. You can go. You can live in L.A. and just be in the shadows and still make, $1 million a year as a designated player. So that's always
not a bad life.
Not exactly. Yeah. So,
for the record, I would still pick to come to Philly, just so that's clear.
Well, that's the benefit too. Is MLS is not the level where you're making NFL superstar type of money where you say, it's not that you don't care where you play, but if somebody's willing to sign you for a couple million, it's like, dude, I would play anywhere type of thing.
Oh, for sure.
But, MLS players are still, the thing about soccer, MLS players are still very grounded players that you still have to be realistic of you can almost choose and get to pick and play that, you have to put that into a factor. Several MLS players share houses and apartments, and I'm sure that was some of your situations in your living that you're not just living in this large 10-bedroom house by yourself.
Yeah,
you're having to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, I always tell there's one story that kind of sticks out when I was in Columbus. It was so my rookie year we lived in rookie housing, so there was 2 of us in each apartment, which was
Rookie housing. I mean, that sounds like dorm life, man.
No, it was good. I mean, it was only like, the club had a connection with the apartment, so it was only like $200 a month, which was perfect. Yeah, it was awesome. It was great. So then my second year, when I end up getting my own apartment, I go to sign the lease, and the lady's like, occupation, soccer player, play for the crew, and then she like looks at me and was like, well, do you do anything else? I was like,
do you do anything else?
No, that's my job. So I was just kind of like,
no, it's not.
Yeah. So I think in terms of soccer, I think maybe the average person doesn't really grasp that it's a full-time kind of job that obviously it's not paying like NFL money, but you're obviously
especially
making a decent living.
The level of commitment, like if you are on an MLS team that goes to the playoffs and goes pretty deep. I mean, you look at these teams that playing into November and then the cups in December.
Yeah.
That these teams are meeting back up and doing training in February, January, going down to Florida for their training. So really, you're looking at a 10-month to 11-month commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, just like with you now that just wrapped up your season and you've got a couple months off, and you go into training. It's not just calendars of games played, it's just getting back in there. Because when do you fly back to Sweden?
So I'll probably fly back January 7th. So I've had maybe a month and a week off, month and 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, not too long. I mean, I think you really just got to take that time, and I took 2 weeks off, just kind of, mentally, you just have to get away from the game and relax a little bit. And then obviously I was lucky this year not to have any injuries or anything, but physically too, at the end of the season, you're pretty worn down, and yeah, it takes its toll mentally. So it's definitely needed to get a week or 2 break. So
yeah, I'm a firm believer in that regeneration.
Yeah.
That there are a lot of different teams that I've coached and played on where there's the regeneration type of coach, and then there's the punishment coach. And I've been on both ends, been on the good teams, coached the good teams, but coached the bad teams. That I've had so many coaches that just overwork the guys where, I have to tell the head coach, like, listen, you need to really regenerate. When team's losing, these guys are trying harder, and these guys are playing on injuries they shouldn't play on because nobody likes to lose.
For sure.
And that's the thing, is just getting healthy and just, like you said, getting your mindset, just hitting that reset button, because as much as everybody wants you to eat and breathe and do soccer, every professional out there takes some type of holiday or vacation. I'm getting ready to take a week vacation myself. You sometimes just have to unplug the phone, turn it off, and just, not that you don't think about the sport, but enjoy the things that make you you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think, and to go back in terms of regeneration, I think we're so lucky to live in a time where science is at an all-time high in terms of in that area, you know, with cold tubs and contrast baths and this and that. It's really, really helpful. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you need to unplug a little bit and let your mind go and have a donut here or there. I think.
Yeah, even breaking it down to the youth level with coaching youth soccer. It's now, in our books where you have your per week how much intensity you should be coaching. Back, when we were growing up, you're going 100% every practice, because if you're not 100%, you're not going to play the game. So it's good that the science is actually translating to the manuals.
For sure.
So it's, we're at a better time now.
No, that's really good, because I coach at Philly U, and we have a lot of good days where you do your regen day. We do a lot of stretching and just walkthroughs, just basic walkthroughs, non-contact type of drills, just practicing set piece with no contact, and watching a lot of film and just letting these guys understand the game, because that's one thing that you have to realize, that at our school we have quite a few internationals that have played. They just basically got to the college level on their scrappiness, and they didn't have a lot of the education in the game, and that's something you have to really realize. And I'm sure you had that mix when you played in college, that you can have some guys that have raw talent, and they might have come from a foreign program, so they didn't actually get the best of coaching. Yeah, and just understanding, sure. and it is crazy to think there are some rules, basic rules of soccer, that you and I take for granted, and these guys don't understand these basic rules.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think especially in college and in a couple of years in the MLS, they've come out with these programs where you can see all your touches, you can see your movement, which is, I'm guessing 10, 15 years ago, it's just unheard of, So it's really just kind of, you can go in, you have your whatever 20, 30 clips, and you can kind of see tactically what you need to improve on. So it's really, really kind of cool that you can really expand your knowledge of the game off the field in that kind of sense. No,
I did a lot of that for our team in the preseason when we were trying to find our shape. Is I would analyze all the touches and different flows of the game. Of sometimes we were slow starting, sometimes we're fast starting. So you try to work on, well, what do we need to do in the pregame? Because soccer is not a sport like your baseball or your whenever football. You can look at a box score and tell how the flow of the game went. There's no box score. People used to ask me, well, when you write about, how do you write? There's no box score. There's no like fifth inning, second inning, and hits, and there's only 2 shots on goal, but it's all the build up before. And I think that's the neat part. That's what I love about coaching soccer. It's not a statistic. You can't really coach for, hey, we got to have possession, we got to get more shots on goal. You look at the quality of touch, and like you do, I'm sure it's a learning experience just seeing, what you did with your touches and all the touches you had. And were there any raw figures? You remember how many touches you had at a game type of thing?
So when I was in Charlotte, we were pretty high on recording the touches and the shots and the turnovers and stuff like that. So it was really cool to kind of look back, either over a streak of games or a month of games to see, maybe I'm turning the ball over a little bit more. Maybe I need to play a little bit simpler and just kind of seeing how the shots added up and how involved you are getting in the game and stuff like that. So,
I'm sure that forwards, not to throw in the bus as a position I've ever really played, but it is a tough position because you're relying on midfield and defenders to get you a good ball. You can say, well, I gave you 5 balls, but if somebody's giving you a ball in a bad situation, you're already being double teamed and passed, and you might get 1 touch, and then you're double teamed, you lose the ball. That's another thing too, is looking, watching these film, because film just didn't exist when I was in high school. I mean, DVDs didn't exist. That's how old I am. It was VHS. So every once in a while there'd be a team with a VHS, and trying to watch yourself on VHS to scout yourself is tough. But that's the thing is it's just like you're watching the videos, seeing, and it helps midfielders see how they can get you a better ball and what you actually like. Because I like it on my right foot. I like it in run of play, but it's just getting that pass and how making it. You say, hey, you got 10 balls sent to you, but none were. I wasn't able to get a shot off.
Yeah, I think the thing that's good about being a forward and bad about being a forward is you can think you have a bad game, and then 89th minute you score, and then it's like, okay, I had a good game.
Then the butcher's giving you extra meat,
and then you think, you had a good game, and maybe you missed a couple chances, and then you're kind of down on yourself for not putting one away. So it's kind of a tricky situation there.
Yeah,
so.
it is neat with forwards. You can really redeem yourself. You can hit the woodwork 3 or 4 times in a game, and then in that 90th minute you scored a game winner, and you celebrate like you won the World Cup. And nobody remembers all those misses. They just remember you putting in the game winner.
For sure.
So, and you don't have to worry about being so much as being the GOAT, because you won't score an own goal. So
you don't have to worry about being the donkey or anything. So
knock on wood, I've never done that in a real game. I've been megged for the game-winning goal in goal, so that's probably the most demoralizing thing. So, one thing we were talking about last week a lot is PKs, and I think it's cool to bring you in since you're a professional player. That in PKs, we're not going to give up your no keeper's going to know, but like how do you, when you're looking up, what are some of your pointers to like forwards out there when you're walking up for a PK?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing to do is, if you're taking the PK, just kind of take a deep breath and relax a little bit. I think that's key because, especially if, it's a tight game and a close game, if you go up with some nerves, you're probably not going to hit it as well as you would like. And then I would say maybe take a look at the goalie and just kind of see, because, in today's game, goalies kind of like to dance around a little bit on the line and stuff like that. But then I would just say be confident in wherever you're going to go. I think if you go up there kind of second-guessing yourself and thinking, maybe should I go somewhere else?
Yeah, you start playing head games with yourself.
Yeah. I think you're better off just being confident, and if you miss, you miss. You're not the first one. You're not the last one to miss. So I think if you just go up with a clear plan and you're confident about it, then I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, because we found it amazing that College Cup, all these games that went a shootout, the semifinal shootout, and then women had some shootout, and then the MLS Cup went the shootout. So, I mean, what's the longest shootout you've ever been involved in?
So, in the Open Cup, when I was at Chivas, we traveled to Carolina Railhawks.
That's good. How'd that go into scheduling?
Yeah, I know. I don't know how. For
LA team plays.
Yeah. So, and we ended up going like 12 or 13.
You know what? I remember that game.
Yeah. And it wasn't because everyone was making it. It's because everyone was missing.
Like being saved or missing?
A little of both.
It's just painful.
Yeah. So, they ended up advancing. Carolina did in PK. So,
It's a long flight back.
Yeah, for sure. And to make matters worse, I missed my sister's wedding for that game, so it was it was a really bad week for me. So it was kind of a downer.
Wow, man, I didn't mean to bring that up.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, way to go.
She's forgiven me, so we're all right.
Water under the bridge.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like an old joke. It's just the wrongest thing to say. It's like a buddy might have totally missed his wedding, and I like, so wrong to say. I hope he's not listening. I'm like, I'll get you next time, because like his wife. I mean, nice lady, no, but I used to joke with him like, yeah, this ain't gonna last. I'll get you next wedding.
Cold blooded.
Yeah, it's cold. That's cold, man.
Jinx. Nah, he's doing good, man. So, no, some other news we want to talk about, like, Chelsea's making a runaway with EPL. Question, I've gotten a lot of is Liverpool can make a run. There was some talks that Jurgen Klopp is trying to go after Kasper Schmeichel. I mean, I think that'd be an amazing move. But, I mean, it's one of those things where is Leicester just not going to win it this year? They're holding on, or do you take a chance on getting some loan money from Schmeichel?
Man, having a keeper, improving your keeper.
Because Liverpool's been having a lot of issues in goal.
I mean, if you have issues in goal, it's kind of tough to win the big one. So
yeah,
shore it up.
Yeah, we've seen, like, just recently Liverpool below a 2-2. I mean, 2-goal lead on the road and just getting hammered at Bournemouth. So it's one of those things where we've seen it happen so much that confidence is a big thing, and I'm sure that forwards go through those similar type of things where you just can't hit the back of the net. You just do you overcompensate? I'm sure you've been a victim of that. Where does it become sort of a head game to yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, there's some times where you're on fire and everything's going in the net, and you're just scoring tap-in after tap-in, and you're like, wow, this is great. And then there's other times when you can't score from inside the 6. So I think it's one thing that I try and do is I think if you keep trying to do too much finishing in practice when you're slumping, for me personally, I think that keeps me a little bit in a slump. So I'll kind of maybe
work on other parts of your game.
Yeah,
maybe?
Back away from it and just let it find itself out. So, but yeah, I mean, you gotta keep plugging along, and those things always end. You're always up and down. So
I mean, it's so cliche. They always talk about shooters when you go through a drought, whether other sport is. You just got to keep shooting.
Yeah,
and you can't not, and then start relying on your passing and setting other guys up, because then you're looking, nobody, there are forwards that have made a living off of being a setup guy, but you don't want to be that type of forward who's looking to pass first.
Yeah, for sure.
You've got no confidence in your shot and you're looking to lay it off.
No, I think it's funny you say it, because I think it's like total frat move or something they've been using lately. Shooters got to shoot. So that's a good motto to
shooters got to shoot.
Yeah. So good motto to keep in the back of your head if you're a forward. So
no, I like it, and it's true. It comes down to just the basics, and the confidence of once you hit the back of the net and it just, you said 90th minute you can do it and bang, all's forgiven, and you have that confidence moving forward. But it's one of the things where I've heard some of the high level coaches say a good goal scorer can score every other game. I mean, I can't imagine that type of pressure. It's like telling a goalkeeper, you got to make a shutout every other game. And there's so many factors that go into that. But, there are some guys that are just so good at adapting to whatever team they are, and they find a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think being a forward, and that's kind of the goal you're shooting for is every other game. Yeah. And, if you do go in a slump, you start looking at the goal scoring chart, and this guy scored every game, this guy's got more than me, and then it kind of you're constantly
chasing somebody.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you just gotta worry about yourself, and I think when you're in a slump, no matter what goal you score, no matter if it's a tap in, you steal someone else's goal, you're out of the slump. As soon as you score one, I think tables turn for sure.
Did you watch any of the Liverpool game today?
No, I missed it. I saw they won 1-0 though.
Okay, I don't want to ruin it for you, but no, Serge hit a shot off the post in the 95th, 97th minute type thing. And the other one it's a tap in from the 6th.
Yeah,
and I'm glad that the commentators and all the media gave Serge the credit, because he's the one that banged off the post. And the other guy's just being Johnny on the spot. And I've been there in that situation before. I'm a defender. Sometimes the ball just falls in front of you on a set place, and and I think the biggest thing is, for me, give advice to players out there is I don't think about the goal until it's out in the net. Some people, I think that can happen too. You can overthink. When you think you got a bunny, sometimes you can shank it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I think, like I said, as soon as you score one, it's kind of, you just got to be in the right place at the right time. There's been plenty of players that, my favorite player growing up was Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look, was he as good as Messi dribbling? No.
But he could finish.
He was always at the right place at the right time.
He was a back-to-goal kind of guy, so I loved watching him.
Yeah.
He's back to goal, and all he needs is one turn on the ball in the box. And
I tried to model my game after him so much when I was younger, and just at the right place, the right time. And Inzaghi, too.
Yeah.
He wasn't fast, he wasn't strong, but he scored goals,
He cheated the offside
thing,
too. He really pushed it.
He was smart.
Yeah, exactly. He's just using the tools that you have. So what are some of you would say some of your greatest assets and tools? Is it speed, finishing, dribbling?
Yeah, so like I said, I tried to model my game after players like Van Nistelrooy and Inzaghi when I was younger. So I think definitely my movement kind of sticks out when I'm playing. I always try and get in behind. So a little like Inzaghi cheating the halfway or the offside line.
Yeah.
And finishing obviously being forward, it always can be better. But I think that's one of my strengths. And I think this year I really kind of improved on kind of holding the ball up. Because I think that's something as a forward that people don't really take too much notice in.
Yeah, because you draw defenders in, draw somebody in, somebody else is going to be open.
Yeah, I think if you don't hold the ball up, it gets more notice than if you do, because you're just kind of expect
they notice the pressure. This guy he gets a little pressure, he's going to get rid of it.
Yeah, so you kind of relieve pressure from the team. Let the defense come out, midfielders push up a little bit. So I think that's something that something I really want to improve this year. So
I think that's absolutely crucial, especially when you're playing games and you're in a situation as in you're up 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to hold the ball up to mitigate the momentum of your
time's
opponent.
more a factor than goals right now.
So little things like that are crucial for a forward that they don't get on the score sheet for, but the better forwards can have that 3-0 win and won't let the momentum come back.
No, it's such a true thing, and being aggressive forward, like we talked about, like Inzaghi always being offside. But if you're cheating and get offside, there's times where you're going to get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And a true forward's not. And there's times where we play pickup and beer leagues where you're off, the ref didn't call it, but you're not going to stop and play the fair play. But it's professional soccer, you're gonna play, and I'm sure that's the thing too. And you cheat enough, you're gonna beat the system.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
And to be fair, you really only need to be on one time.
Yeah,
and score, and that's
it.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. So there were some of our updates there about you're talking about the Liverpool thing, and we're going to take ourselves a quick little tiny break, and we'll come back and we'll talk more news, and we'll address the old mailbag.
This is Denise Adams, and you're listening to World Sports Show on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia.
Last week on World Sports Show.
I think we've seen that happen sometimes in different sporting events where the blades of grass are long enough where the coin will just go right down the middle. That's funny. It's like side. Did you imagine a guy calling that heads or tails? Side. Well, that was a discussion last night. It wasn't in the mailbag, but it came a good discussion of futsal last night. Let me ask you, John, if you're a coach, I'm gonna mailbag you before the mailbag. If that's appropriate. What do you decide if you're the captain or you're the head coach that you got the old towing cost? Do you prefer to shoot first or shoot last?
I decide to.
And now, back to the WPPM studios in Philadelphia. This is the World Sports Show.
Welcome back to World Sports Show. Charlie Flo, Ryan Finley, John DeCriscio here on WPPM LP Philadelphia, coming to you live in beautiful downtown Philadelphia, right outside of Independence Mall. So quite a nice, crisp, cool evening. Temperatures dropped, not exactly as warm as it was yesterday, but we'll keep you warm with some football talk. We're going to open up the old mailbag, and got a lot of questions here for Ryan Finley, so he's going to drop some knowledge on us.
Mailbag at worldsportshow.com. That's the email, you guys. Throw them in there. We read them.
First question is from Mike in New Jersey. Which transition was harder for you, Ryan, going from youth level to college or going from college to pro?
I think it would have to be college to pro. I think pretty much every rookie kind of goes through, the rookie kind of transition in terms of just the season being so much longer than the college season that it really kind of takes its toll on you come those summer months. Because, in college you're playing, 3 or 4 months. And
Yeah,
then,
you meet in August and you're done by September or November. If
and then you get a break and then you come back for spring, which is, unfortunately limited in some aspects. But, when you're a pro, you're meeting in January, and if you're lucky, you're going to November, December, which is 2 or 3 times
you're not
longer.
under NCAA hours
Yeah,
per week and stuff like
for
that.
sure. Yeah, so I think all the guys kind of, need to be prepared, their rookie year for that change in length of the season. So.
When's the hardest wall? Like what type of month is it really?
I think in the summer.
Summer.
Yeah, just because, you're grinding through the season.
Especially you're coming for people to realize you played college ball in the fall, and then you go start playing with a pro team, and you're starting training in January, February. So you really,
yeah.
So if you look at that entire year,
it's a quick turnaround for sure. And then I think you're just in the dog days of the summer. You're grinding through. You have some of those weeks where you play, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, and it just kind of really takes a toll on you. Mentally and physically, so it's definitely
something I never really thought about too. Is you're doing a lot more traveling than when you played in college.
Oh,
you're,
for sure.
You're regionally staying in the same time zone, but here you're flying across country.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if you look at any of the European players that come over, they talk about the travel just being completely different than over in Europe. So I think that's definitely something that impacts the league as well. That's why it's so hard to play on the road in some places.
Now, how often, like in Sweden, are you mostly busing to a lot of your games?
Yeah, so I mean, Stockholm will be like the furthest trip if you're in southern Sweden, which is only 4, 5, 6 hours. So it's not bad at all. You stay overnight and then bus back in the morning. So it's really not a bad trip. So, but everything else is pretty.
Yeah.
Some teams might be 30 minutes, an hour away, and then
it's not bad.
everywhere in between. So yeah, the travel doesn't really impact as much as in the MLS.
Cool. Very good answer. Next question comes from Julie in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. What is your most memorable goal?
Oh, this is an easy one for me. So if anyone who knows kind of my backstory in college, I went to Duke my first 2 years.
Yeah.
Unfortunately things, kind of, didn't work out. I ended up transferring to Notre Dame my junior year. So my senior year comes up and the schedule comes out and look who we play the first game of the season. Play Duke. So obviously there was a little bit of talk, before the game and stuff like that. So we ended up beating them 1-0 and I ended up scoring. So
was this at Duke or Notre Dame?
I wish it was at Duke, but it was at Notre Dame. So
I mean, take what you can get.
Yeah. I mean, can't be too greedy, but yeah, I mean that was. I can still pretty much remember it second by second. So it was.
How far into the game was this 1-0 type of goal?
It was in the second half. I remember I had like a clear chance. Someone crossed it, and I just kind of shot it right at the goalie, and I was like, "Oh man, that better not be. We better not tie this game 0-0." I missed that chance.
Yeah.
But luckily, I got another chance in the second half, and was able to put it away. So that was kind of a really, really special night for me. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
It's a good goal to relive, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of a storybook, movie type thing. So yeah, it was really cool.
Hey, Rudy too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that is a name that pops up a lot on Notre Dame's campus,
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and I'm sure just being at Notre Dame itself is just the atmosphere and just going to those type of games. I mean, it's one of those things that I think every guy's and gal's bucket list is go to a football game in Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, whenever I talk to someone about Notre Dame, they're like, "Oh man, I want to go to a football game," or "I've been there and it's been
say
crazy."
You played football at Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. A funny story. So when I first visited Notre Dame, it was actually Palm Sunday.
Okay.
I'm being an Irish Catholic myself.
Okay.
Being there, being in the church and everything. Obviously, my dad was pretty impressed, and not that he told me that I was going to Notre Dame, but it was kind of like, okay, Dad, I'm going to Notre Dame. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed my time there. So
That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
it became a little bad luck there that you guys didn't win the NCAA tournament when you were there, but I'm
Yeah.
sure that when you were in the stands, because that's when I ran into you down there at PPL
Mm-hmm.
Park, just seeing a lot of your teammates win that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably one of the most unselfish, happy moments you can have for all of your teammates.
For sure. I think anyone who's ever put on a Notre Dame jersey was happy for Boss, for
Yeah.
Bobby Clark.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, just for him to finally get that championship, no matter if it was with my group of guys, my senior class, or anyone, I think everyone was just so thrilled for Boss to get that championship. So,
Yeah, and a pretty good women's program. Randy
Yeah.
Waldron was there when you were
Mhm.
there, and he's now coaching down in Houston, a women's league, and just, I mean, great, successful coaches. You know, just the guys that you just like them so much, you want to see those guys win championships. There's so many coaches like that, you know, throughout the sporting world that you find yourself rooting for this coach no matter what team he or she's coaching. You say, I want to see that coach win a championship.
yeah, for sure. I think the thing about coaches is if you talk to anyone who's played with Boss, you know, everyone thinks he's a great soccer coach. That goes
Yeah.
without saying. But I think him as a person, I think everyone would rate him higher as a person than a soccer coach. So I think that really kind of says a lot about him and a lot about the Notre Dame program. So
Yeah, we talk about that a lot on the show. Is just that one of the biggest thing in coaching, and it's interesting to call. I still almost call college youth, you know, because you're still developing. You're young, you know, men and women that are still developing their mind and learning the game. That being a player manager is bigger than anything. You know, I've got all these freshmen that are coming to me with issues and stuff like that because they're just becoming an adult. A lot of these trials and new parts of their life they've never been through.
for sure.
And if you're good enough to handle them, the soccer part's the easy part I've learned.
Yeah.
You know, that's just they come in with the basic skills. Okay, I'm just trying to find a strategy to win, but managing them, especially you've seen when you're playing at Duke and Notre Dame, you've got every guy on the team was all state, and won cups in their state. So now is juggling that, and I'm constantly talking to freshmen that are used to playing a full 90. Now
Yeah.
they're playing 15 minutes a game and having to deal with that.
Yeah, no, I think I always tell people Boss was so good at worrying about 1 through 22, all the players on
Wow.
the team, as opposed to I think some colleges they fall into a trap where they worry about 1 through 14.
No, I've seen it, been there, done
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
And 15 through 22,
Showing no value to the other
Yeah.
guys that you're just practice dummies.
they don't develop. And there were guys who I was when I was a junior, I was like, this guy's never going to play. Come back my senior year, he's starting and
Wow.
just would do a great job. I think if you talk to any of those guys, they would say that Boss caring about them really impacted them going from not playing their freshman year to stepping in, contributing valuable minutes their sophomore year.
Man, it becomes very contagious because you do get, I've seen the teams where you have that resentment where these guys know that no matter what I'm doing, I'm not playing.
Yeah.
He or she's got their favorite 5 or 6 that are automatic started, even if they have a lousy practice. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer if a guy's not practicing well, then he's not going to play. And you
Yeah,
can say,
for
well, he
sure.
scored, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but he's not
Yeah.
putting the effort in. Let's look at our next question in the mailbag from Vince from Chad's Ford. What is, you know, your off-season workouts like, you know, when you're off-season? I mean, you are in the off-season now, but, you know, what are some things that you do to, you know, keep in shape in the off-season?
Yeah, so this offseason has been a little bit different in terms of that it's a lot shorter than usual. So usually I'm home for, 2 months, 2.5 months, where, here I'm home for about a month. So like I said earlier, kind of took 2 weeks off to regenerate and, relax the mind, relax the body a little bit. And then just these last few days kind of easing back into it, running, lifting, and kind of just, not overdoing it too much. But also, you want to go in with still a good base of fitness, especially because preseason in Sweden's pretty long as well. Go back, I think we start practicing January 9th, and our first game's April 2nd, I think.
Wow.
We obviously have a lot of,
yeah.
a lot of games in between, but I think you don't want to be at your peak fitness come January 9th, the first practice. I think you want to be in good shape, but throughout that preseason, you're slowly...
Now do they ease it on, I guess, since that's such a long preseason?
Yeah. I mean, I think anywhere you can't go too hard in the beginning, or you'll see guys kind of start dropping out, because I think no matter what you do in the offseason, you can't really replicate team practices. I think you can run as much as you want and lift as much as you want, but kind of replicating that team practice is almost impossible.
Especially, you'll be with a new team, right?
Yeah.
The chemistry is like you got to just, understand how they actually play as
Yeah.
much as you can go and prepare. I think, like you said, is your fitness is the most key because you can't go in and start thinking, oh, I'm preparing to play in this type of system. I'm playing that type of system until you actually get on the field with these guys. Now,
Yeah.
not a lot of the training will be like indoor, obviously, because it's in Sweden in the wintertime. It's just what type of surfaces you guys are working on?
So I think everyone in Sweden usually plays on turf.
Yeah.
Until maybe a couple weeks before
Yeah.
the season starts. In Sweden too, they actually have the cup before the season starts. So I think it's 8 groups of 4 or
Okay.
something like that. So you'll be mixed in with teams from the first division, and obviously there's some outliers who come from the 4th or 5th division
Okay.
that are in those groups. So you have 3, they're not regular season games, but they're not friendlies either.
Yeah, exactly.
three games that count towards something too. So that's kind of nice to have something to look forward to.
That's good. Yeah, just to build up that chemistry. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing as a forward is just getting those games under your belt and just finding out, how your midfielders play and how your fellow forwards will play.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's one thing that's really going to kind of work to my advantage this year in terms of, last year, I had a trial for, what was it, a week or 10 days, and then I left, and, I didn't really have a majority of preseason with those guys. It was kind of, I came back and had a couple of days of training. I missed the first game with the work permit issue, and then, boom, we're starting the flow of the season.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
I
So
think
it's good to get a little head start.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And next question comes from Chuck and Delco. What city are you most excited to see the Gold Cup?
I mean, it's got to be Philly, right?
Yeah, I think that's the easy one. What about you, John?
Easy Philly.
Yeah. Well, let's take it back. Second most excited city. Other venues, maybe one of the newcomers. I mean, personally, I'm looking forward to seeing soccer in San Antonio and Tampa, teams that have been, on the bubble trying to get MLS teams. And if you want an MLS team, fans in San Antonio or Tampa, this is when you show up.
Was Scottsdale was on there, right?
Yeah, Scottsdale,
Arizona.
University of Phoenix Stadium.
I'm still amazed how they roll the grass in from outside.
Yeah,
It's technology, man.
Yeah, it's interesting, It just
Bring the whole field outside for a little bit.
it's just, yeah, why not, So definitely looking forward to that. Next question comes from Jared in Kansas City. How important is it for the USA to win the Gold Cup? That's
a tough one.
To win?
Yeah, to win the whole Gold Cup, how important is it?
To make the final, I think they need a good showing. Got a new coach. I think to win it, I think it's at least have a good showing, at least, show some promise. Show that new coach is the right way to go.
It's a tricky thing because, we'll be playing in a tournament that will happen after we've already had a couple World Cup qualifiers. We got the Hex resuming in March, and I think that's the biggest thing. If we're on a winning thing, then you want to see the USA playing well to have that, winning contagiousness go into September when they have their final qualifiers to make the World Cup. So I think that it's going to be a good type of tournament that it's one of those tournaments where it's great to win it. If we don't win it, not a big deal. But if they have a good showing, enough that we know we can qualify for the World Cup. Because at the end of the day, qualify for the World Cup's much bigger than winning the Gold Cup. You don't want to win the Gold Cup and then not qualify for the World Cup.
Yep.
So I think it's a tournament. It's a really interesting, kind of like you were talking about your preseason tournament. Yeah, it would be great to win it, but as long as you show up and play good ball and you know what you've got moving forward for the regular season, that's the most important thing. It's kind of a warm-up tournament.
I mean, I say lose to Mexico in a final in a tight game, acceptable. Lose to Jamaica in a quarterfinal, that's a little unacceptable.
And then lose to what? PKs and
Right.
against Panama. So that's the thing. So next question comes from Jake in South Philly. Favorite holiday foods?
Why don't you answer that one there?
Favorite holiday foods, man. I think it's all the variety of Christmas cookies. Like my brother him and his wife always send me cookies. So big shout out to my brother. He said, when's the best time to mail you cookies? I know you're going off on vacation. I'm like, when's the best time I can mail you cookies? I'm like, well, I guess you kind of ruin what I'm going to get when I open it. It's like, why even wrap it? But no, I just love the different varieties. I'm a very lucky coworker in my day job that always, the women that I work with are always bringing in different kind of cookies or chocolates. Hey, you want to try this cookie? Do I want to? It's like, this is the time of the year. Just throw diet out the window. It's a good time for you, Ryan, to be in the off season too, because you're
for sure.
It's tempting, but it's
So I allow myself to eat my grandma's rice pudding once once a year.
And this is the time, right?
Yeah, so there's kind of a running joke in my family. It's probably kind of hard to see me reenact it on radio, but there's a joke that my mom saw my grandma making the rice pudding, and when she was putting the sugar in, she took the carton or the container of sugar and just stood there for about 10 seconds while the sugar was just flowing out of the container until she turned it back over. So,
Wow.
So I think addicting might be putting it lightly about her rice pudding, but
So what's on the ingredients? Hold sugar over batch 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm like, how much is that? I don't know.
Yeah.
10 seconds of sugar.
whatever grandma says,
Oh, man. Now you're on the spot, John. You got to answer the question, favorite holiday food.
Oh man.
I always spend New Year's with you. It's been like a running thing the last 5 years. We spent New Year's together.
Yeah. I'm the same with you. Whatever holiday cookie. I'm good with a holiday cookie.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with it.
Man, that was such a lame follow up.
Yeah, holiday cookie just like you.
But I do like some rice pudding.
Yeah.
Tear up some rice pudding.
Yeah, so, I mean, I know we're talking holiday food, but, I always have sake at your house. That's always pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Little
it's not really holiday sake. I mean, I don't know how that works, but I'll take it holiday sake. I mean, that's the thing. The colder the winter out, I think it's these different soups. I mean, soup's a very popular winter thing, but you're not going to find many soups at your different holiday, festive dinners. But Glühwein, I guess we can count Glühwein. They have that over at City Hall in Philly. I mean, that's something I discovered in Germany, man. And over in Europe, man, they'll have the big, huge pot where they serve the Glühwein out of a pot where you just basically buy your little cup and the guy dunks it in there. I don't know what the sanitation rules are, but there are a lot of violations of.
As long as it's over 160 degrees, I think they can serve it that way. Nah, I don't know what it is.
Ain't no bacteria living in there. There's enough alcohol and heat to kill anything. So, next question comes from John in Center City. Thoughts on the FIFA World Cup or FIFA Club World Cup? What are you guys' thoughts on that? So, I mean, it's an interesting tournament. We saw that Real Madrid won it over the weekend 4-2. I mean, some people take it serious, some people don't like it, some people do like it.
I mean, if it was in the U.S. and we got to go watch it, I would love it.
Yeah.
But, it's Real Madrid winning. They're stacked squad,
Yeah, it's
I don't invest that much time and interest in it, but, I'll follow and watch the recap, so that's as much attention as I'll give it.
Yeah, a lot of the games are coming on at 2, 3 in the morning and stuff like that. I'd love to see it like in a U.S.-based type of thing. So,
be nice if a U.S. team could get in it too. I mean, I know
There you
we were
go.
close this year with the impact in Club America in the CONCACAF final, but I think eventually we'll get a team in there.
yeah, I think it's we're becoming competitive in Champions League, and really teams are starting to put stake in that. A lot of it was Champions League, and CONCACAF wasn't taken as serious because MLS teams really focus on their MLS. But you have that balance that I think MLS teams are now going up against that, like you said, playing in the Open Cup, playing MLS play. That you really have to, if you want to be a respected league, you've got to be able to handle the 3-4-headed monster.
I mean, I don't want to open a can of worms and talk about it, but MLS scheduling. That's a whole nother story about MLS teams playing.
Yeah, we've only got a minute left on the show.
Yeah,
Right.
because they're in preseason during the beginning, aren't they?
Yeah,
They play some games that are
it's really
yeah, it's tough,
it's interesting to play preseason. Like this game coming up counts, but we're not even.
close to being.
Yeah,
100%
exactly.
fit.
And you're going up against other clubs that are full on.
Mid-season,
And
yeah.
that was always the debate when you have the European clubs come play the friendlies. Hey, I love it. I love seeing like the different teams, like Manchester play against Union their first year, but. You have to realize that a lot of the MLS teams will say, hey, "Oh, we beat this team." Like they're getting warmed up, man.
Yeah.
So it's like I would love to see an MLS team go over to London right now and play Chelsea in the peak of their season for their preseason tour. But again, Charlie Flo, John Acrisio, Ryan Finley, thank you so much for coming to the studio, and best luck in Sweden this year.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Had a fun time. Thank you.
Right at 10 o'clock.
Sorry to cut out quickly.